What up, what up, what up? So today I got 4 sleepers that are going to bust in 2024. Hopefully you avoid these guys late in those drafts. First up, we got Jameson Williams, man. I really feel as though this is a one-trick pony here. No disrespect, with all respect. He is a guy that we have not seen more out of him other than being a deep threat. We have not seen him run the complete route tree, and we don't know if he's going to be a weapon utilized on this offense that's going to be able to compete with the Monrod St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta when it comes to this target share. What week-to-week target share are we really expecting from Jameson Williams? He's getting a lot of camp buzz right now, a lot of coach speak. A lot of the fantasy streets are pumping him up to be this guy that you need to be targeting late in those drafts, but I just don't see an honest path for him to be a consistent starter, especially in redraft leagues. I definitely feel as though he's a guy you want to avoid. And listen, Jared Goff's game is not relied on having the deep ball, so this isn't something that is going to be happening week to week. He had the third fewest deep pass attempts per game in 2023. It's just not simply in his game. It's not in his utility belt to try to go downfield like that. And to be honest, those aren't all targets that are going to go into Jameson Williams' pocket. You got to look at Monrod St. Brown and Sam Laporta. These are guys that can get vertical as well. So I really don't understand the hype here about Jameson Williams, and you should be avoiding him in 2024. Next up, I got J.K. Dobbins. This is a running back that I'm going to be avoiding in those late drafts. A lot of people are hyping him up again. I don't know why, but the dude is constantly recovering from an injury where I don't feel as though there's enough on tape for me to say, hey, I'm convinced that he's going to be able to return back from an ACL tear and now an Achilles. I mean, we have plenty of examples of running backs returning back from this nasty injury. Maybe, the surgery and recovery, they bounce back a little bit, but they never bounce back with that same type of burst. We look at Marlon Mack. We look at James Robinson. We look at Cam Akers right now, who's on his third team right now after these injuries back-to-back on the same Achilles. So I'm not ready to go out there and get a J.K. Dobbins just based on you have Gus Edwards, who's understood with the report saying that he is the lead back. And I had the privilege last weekend at the Scott Fish Bowl draft to actually interview Hayden Hurst, who is the starting tight end for the Chargers, who basically said word for word that Gus Edwards is going to be the guy and J.K. Dobbins will come in whenever Gus is getting tired and then ran out. So there, for me, that is perfect example of why I don't think you should be drafting J.K. Dobbins. The better value here is Kamani Vidal, the rookie who's going to be that third string running back for some time. But I really feel as though if J.K. Dobbins or even Gus Edwards ends up finding themselves on the injury list, Kamani Vidal comes in as a great value in those late rounds and the better guy to pivot to as your sleeper rather than J.K. Dobbins. Now, I hate to put this guy on the list. Rashad Bateman, I am a huge fan of him, man. If you could just watch his highlight tapes all day long, I will. But there's just a situation here where I look at where he's going to be competing with Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers in a run-heavy offense. The Ravens led the NFL last year in rush plays and percentage, and I definitely feel as though Rashad Bateman does not have a clear path to fantasy relevance week to week. Now, we're already looking at the situation that I explained with the competition at the targets, but also worth noting in the Lamar Jackson era, we have not seen 2 wide receivers contain the same space of having 50-plus receptions or average more than 9 fantasy points per game. It's only been 1 wide receiver to hold that title in the Lamar Jackson era because Mark Andrews is that first, maybe even second this year with Zay Flowers target. But when we look at a second wide receiver in the Ravens offense, it simply does not exist in the fantasy world where it becomes relevant. So the hype and buzz around Rashad Bateman, I get it because I am a fan of Rashad Bateman, but I just don't see a clear path for him to be on my roster this summer when I'm looking at other guys in the areas of where he's going late in those drafts that actually has some type of upside to a target share to find some type of fantasy relevance. When I face buys or I face injuries, they will be the plug and play guy that I can put into my flex position. I just don't see that for Rashad Bateman in 2024. Now, last but certainly not least, I have nothing against somebody that holds the same last name as me, and that's Daniel Jones, but I just don't see this situation panning out the way a lot of people are selling us on. Darren Waller was quoted saying that he still feels as though that Daniel Jones has that 2022 version of himself in play, but I just don't see it after returning back from all these injuries, and the offense, in my opinion, has gotten worse since last year. We're looking at Malik Neighbors as the hot addition to this offense, but what else did they add? They added Devin Singletary that I don't think can replace Saquon Barkley's production. You lose Darren Waller to a rap career, and I really feel as though the other weapons are just guys. They're just guys looking at the situation, and you still have issues at the O-line. Yeah, they went in free agency and grabbed two guys to play into that guard position because that O-line was terrible last year. But these guys, each of the O-lines that they added, two guards, allowed 6 QB hits each last season. That was more than any of the Giants O-line that they had last year. So therefore, I don't want these qualities on this O-line for a guy that's recovering from a knee injury, a ACL tear, and a neck injury as well in the same season. So I don't see this situation panning out to be any better than it was last year for Daniel Jones. So the rushing upside is there, but I'm just not a firm believer that he is confident going into the season, only with Malik Neighbors as his additional weapon. And obviously the game plan each and every week for these defenses are going to be blanketing Malik Neighbors. And I don't think Daniel Jones is good enough to elevate Malik Neighbors to the full alpha wide receiver one potential that we know he has. So this offense and production entirety is something that I'm looking to avoid. So Dan Jones is not a sleeper for me, guys, going into 2024. So that wraps up another great episode of Rotoballer Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe and leave a comment below on what you guys think about the episode. And hey, you guys can head over to the website, rotoballer.com. Get a subscription today and get 10% off when you use my promo code FIRE. And that's another great episode. So you guys can follow me on Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. Until next time.